Inner join. As explained in the lectures, SQL join is used to build an SQL statement that select columns from two or more tables. The tables you want to select the data from should have common columns in order for you to connect the primary key from the master table with its foreign key in the detail table. Inner join is one of the join types supported in Oracle database, and it requires the primary key and foreign key values are matching in the two tables. In this example, we will use the departments and employees tables. The departments table is the master table and the employees table is the detail table. Let us see the data in the two tables and identify the primary and foreign key columns for the inner join. This is the SQL statement attached to the lecture on the website. So if we run the SQL statement, we will see that we're selecting columns from the employees table, like employee ID, first name, last name, hire date, and we're selecting the department name from the departments table. So to start, let's select and see the records from the departments table. Select the star from departments. So this is the data in the departments table, and the department ID is the primary key and it has unique values. You see the data are unique in this column. So department ID, department underscore ID is the primary key. I'm just adding a comment here. Then let's select from the employees table. So in the employees table, the last column is the department ID. And as you see, multiple employees belong to the same department ID, like department 90 or department 60. We have a few employees belong to each one of these departments. And you keep going. The master table is the departments and the detail table is the employees, because each department has multiple employees assigned or belong to each department. As I mentioned, this is the inner join SQL from the website, and let's build this SQL from scratch. So let's run the select star from employees to get the column names. Let's select the employee ID, first name, last name, hire date, and salary from employees. Let's run this statement. We have an error. Select employee ID, not employees ID. Wrong column name. Run it again. We got the data. So now let's join with the departments table. We use the join keyword and then we specify the table name, which is the departments table. We add the join condition, which is on. We use the on keyword and we can copy the condition from here actually, which is employees.department ID equal departments.department ID. So let's run the statement. Let's see how many employees we have in the employees table. If we keep scrolling down, it's 107 records. Also, if I use the count aggregate function, I can see how many records in the table 107. So now we don't have the department name. So we want to add the department name from the departments table. Department name. And let's run the SQL now. So now we got the employee records assigned to the department name. So we're selecting attributes from the two tables. And as you see in the select statement, we're not specifying each column from which table because these are unique names. They're not exist in the two tables. However, the department ID exists in the two tables with the same name. So we have to distinguish them with the table name. So we're telling the SQL engine that this department ID from the employees table and this department ID from the departments table. And if I try it without adding the table name, then the SQL engine will be confused and will throw an error. Run the SQL. Column ambiguously defined. So there are columns exist in the two tables with the same name. So the SQL engine could not distinguish which column will belong to which table. So we'll add employees dot, and here we can copy the table name and add. So let's run the SQL now. We should not get the error. Now it's working. Same thing if I want to add the department ID to the select statement or to the where clause. I have to tell the system that this is coming from which table, because it does exist in the two tables with the same name. So if I run the SQL statement, I got the same error message, column ambiguously defined. So I have to identify this column department ID from the departments or from the employees. Then if I run the SQL, now no errors. So I don't need the department ID in the SQL, but I used it just to show that we need to identify the common column names. We need to identify from which tables they are. And you see here we use the table name to identify or to associate it with the column name as a prefix. However, you can use aliases, table alias, and use the alias instead of the table name. So it's the same thing, no difference in the SQL or the data result, but maybe it's shorter. Instead of always referencing the full table name, you can use the alias. Sorry, I added E to the two sides. So I need the employees and the departments. Now, if I run the SQL, I will get the same result. So let's see how many records we got here. We got 106 records. So it looks like there are employees in the employees table with no department ID associated to them, because the inner join could not retrieve these records. So let's see if we have an employee where department ID is null. Verify and run the SQL statement. Yeah, so there is a one record, Kimberly Grant. Her record is not associated with the department ID, so the department ID is null. And this is how the inner join works actually. The primary key column and the foreign key column should have match values. Now this is null. There is no department ID null, and even as we explained before, null does not equal null. So I don't expect this column to show up in my extract. So basically now I got 106 records. I'm extracting attributes from the employees table and the departments table, and I have the join between the two tables. I used the join keyword with on keyword to add the join condition, which is I link the department ID column, which is the primary key, with the foreign key for that table in the employees table, which is again called department ID as well. So this is exactly the same SQL we have in the lecture, and this is how the inner join works. The primary key and the foreign key columns should have a matching values in order for the records or the attributes from the two tables or the two records to be retrieved in the inner join SQL statement.